Hey guys, I am finally home again. I'm so glad to be home. It's currently December 21st today. I came home day before yesterday, December 19th, and I'm very glad to be home. My exams are all done, and I think I did pretty darn well, so that's good. So I've been resting. Actually, I've made one other video, but I've decided to postpone that video for a while. There's going to be lots of videos to come here while I'm home. I'll be here until January the 6th, and I'm very excited for Christmas, which is just 4 days away. And during my time home here, there's going to be a lot of videos to come, hopefully including a video of this computer, the Turbo 486. I'm kind of ashamed of myself. I've owned this computer for 8 months, and I've never done an actual boot up and software demonstration video, but hopefully I'll be able to do that over the Christmas break. I've got to sort out a problem right now. For some reason it's quit booting. It'll get partway through the booting process and then just quit, and I've been trying to diagnose that and I can't really figure out what the problem is, so I will probably just end up wiping the hard drive clean and reinstalling everything. Oh well, that probably won't be too bad. Once I get that done, I think I'll make an image of the hard drive, because all the software that I have on this computer only amounts to like 200 megabytes. So once I do that, I'll image the hard drive and burn it onto a CD or something, so that way if it ever messes up again, I can just take the hard drive and re-image it, so I won't have to install all the software individually again. So today's video is about this thing right here. When I made a video a week ago of the Sony Watchman FD30 handheld TV, I mentioned that I had another portable TV that I wanted to make a video of, but that it was broken and I wouldn't be making a video of it until I attempted to fix it, hopefully being successful in doing that. Well, I am very pleased to say that a couple hours ago I had this thing apart on the kitchen table and I fixed it, and this TV is now fully functional again. So it's in this vinyl sleeve here. Let's take it out. This is a Casio TV-400. This is a handheld color TV made around the mid to late 1980s. It's slightly newer than the Sony Watchman. So here's what it looks like. It's got a color passive matrix LCD display. You can get handheld color TVs with passive matrix displays, and you can get them with active matrix displays. I'll tell you right now, if at all possible, get one with an active matrix display, because the picture quality on the passive matrix TVs, it's quite awful. But this has a passive matrix display. You'll be able to see firsthand in this video just what it looks like. Actually, these early passive matrix displays aren't very good, but Casio's later passive matrix TVs, they're a lot better than these ones, but nonetheless, this TV works. As you can see, it's in really good shape. There's hardly a scratch on it anywhere. Actually, the biggest boo-boos on it are probably when I accidentally burned some plastic with the soldering iron, but luckily that happened mostly on the inside of the unit. So, we'll go over the controls here. You've got your tuning up and down buttons to change the channel. It's an automatic electronic tuner, so it automatically scans the TV band and automatically stops when it finds a channel. On the right side here, you have controls for the display brightness and the volume. You have a 6-volt DC input jack, and you've got a switch here for off, on, and on the VHF band, or on and on the UHF band. On the top, we have an external antenna jack. You've got this antenna here, which is very long. I'll extend it later. So, on the left side here, we've got controls for the color intensity and the tint. And here's a headphone jack, and it's a mono headphone jack, unfortunately, so if you plug in modern stereo earphones, the sound only comes out the left side. It's very annoying. although luckily my left ear is my good ear. And really the only visible physical defect here, we've got a crack right there, you can see between the X and the T. It goes all the way down to this screw here, and it's a very common problem on these early Casio TVs. The crack develops right there. Don't know why, but anyhow. We've got a stand here, just like the Sony Watchman. Flips it like that. You can stand up the TV on a desk or whatever. And here's what the label looks like. It takes 4 AA batteries. You can pause and read that if you want. And to get to the batteries, you gotta flip the stand up. Boom. 4 AA batteries. This TV has a very weird story for it. I got this in, I think, for Christmas of 2010. And I bought it off eBay for about $30. And the seller lied his butt off about this thing. He said that it worked absolutely perfect, there was nothing wrong with it, and he even advertised that it came with batteries. Well, first of all, it came with batteries alright, Energizer batteries that had expired in the mid-1990s, and they had all leaked so horribly that the battery compartment in this thing was in such horrible shape. Luckily it cleaned out enough and it didn't destroy the TV. And the batteries did work. I turned this thing on when I opened the package and the batteries did in fact work, but I threw them all away. I mean, I thought that was so dirty, him advertising that it came with batteries, yet the batteries were like 20 years old. Terrible. Second of all, it has a defect that I think happens to a few of these TVs that you'll see when it's turned on. It's got some lines of dead pixels in the display. Only a couple though, it doesn't affect visibility that much. And at the time, I didn't know that the earphone jack was only supposed to work out of one earphone. I thought it was broken too. So I emailed the seller and I didn't give him hell, but I sure as hell let him know that he was very wrong in describing this thing. I told him about the 15-year-old batteries, this display defect, what I thought was the headphone jack problem. He immediately gave me back all my money, and even the shipping costs. So I got this for free. I originally paid $30, got every cent of it back, and so I'm very glad about that. So, this thing gave me a good couple of years of service. It developed a weird problem over time that cleared up by itself. What would happen is the screen brightness would flicker up and down by itself. And it did this for quite a while, and it was kind of annoying, but then, a few months later, all by itself, it just stopped. And it hasn't done it ever since, so that's pretty cool. And then, a few months ago, one of the tuning buttons here, it didn't physically get stuck, but the TV was acting like it was held down, so it wouldn't tune into any channel at all. It would just keep scanning, and that pretty much rendered this whole thing useless. So that sucked, and that was when I pretty much stopped using this thing. And then sometime this summer, I went to turn it on, and it didn't turn on at all. I opened it up, and it turned out that one of the wires attaching the circuit board to the battery compartment had fallen off because those old batteries that were shipped with this thing had corroded so badly. So much corrosion formed on the little tab that the wire was soldered to that it just fell right off. So that is what I just fixed a couple of hours ago. I opened this thing up, I cleaned all the old battery acid off of that tab, and I soldered the wire back on. Let me tell you, it was an absolute frig to do that. The two wires that attach the battery compartment to the circuit board, they're like, let me think, 20, maybe 28, 30 gauge wire. I don't know, it was incredibly thin. You could count the strands. It was literally like 3 strands of copper wire that made up that really thin wire. And it was just so thin that it was impossible to get it soldered, because it would just, when I went to solder it, the wire itself would just melt right off. And eventually I kept trying to solder it, and eventually the wire got too short and it wouldn't reach anymore. So I took another wire from my collection of wiring, soldered the wire in this thing onto that wire, and then soldered that wire, which is a bit thicker wire, onto the battery compartment, taped everything up so it wouldn't move around, and that worked. And when I turned it on, surprisingly, I noticed the tuning button became unstuck. So, cool. So this thing works absolutely perfect now. So what I'll do is, I'll turn it on right now. And there we go, and you see the tuner start scanning the band. You can see some of the lines of dead pixels here. If my knowledge is correct on this, the basic difference between a passive matrix and an active matrix display is that an active matrix display has transistors dedicated to every single pixel on the display. In the case of a passive matrix display, there are transistors only dedicated to each row and column of pixels instead of every individual pixel. So if that's correct, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that, that would mean that basically the reason these columns of dead pixels are here is probably because their appropriate transistors have failed. But whatever. So we've been scanning the band a while. There is one analog television station still active here. So I need something to third hand here to hold the TV down. The antenna is a lot longer than the Sony Watchman, or a little bit longer. That's how long it is. Anyway, we'll switch to UHF. And there's a screen brightness at work. When the brightness is down too low, the screen turns green. And also when the batteries die, the screen turns green. Another thing about these displays is when they're cold, they have a different brightness than when they're warm. So when you first turn it on, you have to have the brightness up a bit, and then once it warms up, you get to turn the brightness down. And if you're watching a show that has really dark colors, you got to turn the brightness off. And these really early passive matrix LCD displays are just a real frig. And the resolution's terrible. If I had to guess the resolution of this thing, I would say perhaps something on the order of 100 pixels by 80 pixels or something like that. You can't read small text on the display. You can read bigger text alright, but you can't make out small text. So this station, I wouldn't say is going to come in. It's not in color, it's in black and white because the signal isn't coming in good enough. But what I can do is, I have a coax cable coming from the satellite receiver coming into my room, and so I could hook that up to the external antenna jack because I have all the parts, but I don't know if I could find them quick enough to suit my patience. So what I'll do is I'll just hold that coax to the antenna here, and we can tune into channel 3, and I can show you what a perfect signal looks like on this. Alright, so let's attach the coax to the antenna here and turn the volume up a bit. And now we wait for the tuner to get to channel 3. And there it is. And don't know what show that is. Looks like Anderson Cooper. Doesn't look like his show though.
Did you have them there?
Yeah, it is Anderson Live.
Yeah, I just totally eyed you.
And notice how you can't read the text. You can see the words Anderson Live, barely.
A little bit over 40, or just about to turn 40. Candace Brooks, I know, is 39. 39. But I haven't realized I haven't hit 45. I'll be 46 in June. And I've hit some sort of Rubicon where the crease in between my face has now gotten so deep. This is a crease I've had since I was 10 from worrying. But it's gotten so deep, I now get emails from viewers and tweets from viewers saying, have I cut my forehead recently? Yeah. People think I've actually, like, they're somehow taken a knife and accidentally cut it.
I know how to fix that.
There's closer to what the color looks like in person. The camera might or might not inaccurately show this as looking worse than it actually is, but maybe not, I don't know.
And then put it
The speaker is definitely not as good as the one in the Sony Watchman. It has a lot less bass. But as you can see, I mean, it works good enough for graphics. You can make out everyone's faces fine. You can't really make out that logo down there. I don't know what it says. Maybe it just says Anderson Live. But yeah, small text on these passive LCD displays, not possible. You might not even be able to see it on camera, but there's the CTV logo in the lower right.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you like these things, I mean, these are a fine dandy little TV, but if you need something that has a lot better quality, a lot higher resolution, go for one of the, go for something that either has a CRT display, like a Sony Watchman, or that has a TFT LCD display, which both Casio and Sony made TVs with color active matrix TFT LCD displays. But from what I can see, Casio's later TVs, the ones they made in the mid to late 1990s with passive matrix displays, they were alright. But the TFT active matrix displays are definitely the way to go if you want something with high quality. If you want one of these little TVs, they are extremely plentiful and extremely cheap on eBay. As a matter of fact, these Casio TVs, they are more plentiful on eBay than Sony Watchmans, and they go for a lot cheaper than Sony Watchmans too. Because when most people learn about handheld TVs, the ones they usually learn about are the Sony Watchmans. So yeah, I mean, Casio made so many different models of these TVs, so if you want one with specific features, you'll be able to find one with just those features. I like these older first generation Casio TVs. They have really cool styling with the red, green, and blue etching on them. But unfortunately, this one has no AV input jack, and I'd like to get one with an AV input jack, whether it is another Casio TV or if it's a Sony Color Watchman. I want something, a color handheld TV that has both an external antenna jack and an AV input jack. And hopefully I'll be able to come across one of them on eBay eventually. There are plenty of the newer Casio TVs that have those features, but I'd like to get one of these older ones that has those features, just because I love the styling of the older ones. Although they do have a lot lower display quality. That being said, if I manage to get a hold of one of those TVs, I'll probably sell this thing, because I won't really have a use for it anymore. And if it so happens that I get lucky enough to get another TV with all the features I want, I'll probably sell this thing. I either might put it on eBay, or I might make a video here and offer it up to any of you guys that might want this thing. But that won't be until I get another TV. So I'll be keeping this thing for now. But now, here's the case. Came with the instruction book. We'll take a quick look at that. It's in English and Spanish. This is an American TV, of course. So I'll just scan down here, and hopefully, if you want to read anything, you can pause and it'll be clear enough for you to see it. Never demonstrated the color and tint controls. Basically, color makes it go from black and white to really intense color, and tint makes it go from red to green. And you can never really get the tint perfect. Not on these primitive displays. In low temperatures, it will take some time for the fluorescent material to illuminate, or the light will take on a reddish tinge. This does not indicate malfunction. Normal operation will resume after a short while. Yeah, this thing has a little cold cathode fluorescent backlight in it. Unfortunately, in some old handheld color TVs, the backlight is a failure point. I know on the first Sony Color Watchman, the backlight likes to fail. Many of them now have failed backlights, but luckily they can be replaced. Just a standard cold cathode fluorescent bulb of the right length and size. It's a lot of stuff in this book. Yeah, this is the TV-400V? What? V, I've never heard of that. It talks about the Model B, which is for the American NTSC system, which this TV obviously is. And then the D, which is for the PAL system. But this is a V, so what the frick? Who knows? But there's that, and I think it's just Spanish on the other side, yep. Here's a look at how much smaller the Casio TV is compared to the Sony Watchman. A lot lighter too. That's pretty much all there is to show of the Casio TV-400 color LCD handheld TV. It's a nice little rig, but I'd like to get a different one, and then once that happens, I'll be selling this one hopefully. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful Christmas, and I will see you guys next time.